Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to do a really quick update video and then show you my new project I got. I've been trying to make a good video and I keep screwing it up, so this is attempt number 3. So for new tools, one of them was I wasn't sure if I'd mentioned these double jointed needle nose pliers before. I've had them for a while. They're just a Crescent brand from Home Depot. I had to get some new flush cuts because I broke my old ones cutting a really big zip tie. Got myself a random number 2 Phillips screwdriver. I like that old school, like kind of Fuller brand or Craftsman handle. So grab one. I like that handle for certain, like getting more torque sometimes. It's all the same, I think. Yeah. This was cool working on my car. It's actually 7mm snap-on nut driver, so that was kind of neat. Sockets. I just forgot to mention before, I've got some extra snap-on ones in the front here. These are just some extra double sizes that I had when we split up my dad's snap-on and Mac stuff. And then somewhere here's like some extra 1/4-inch ones. There's like a 9/16 Mac. My Westward 1/4-inch one, I had a Mastercraft one, so I put my Westward one here. It's just starting to get rounded out. And I want to see if I can get it warranted because it's supposed to have lifetime warranty. But the chances of me finding a Westward rip these days, I don't know where I'm going to find one. So that's basically it for new tools for that kind of stuff. Specialty stuff, I got a nut insert tool. That's for working on the table on the back door of my Jeep. It's self-tap screwed in right now. I want to do it more securely, so I'm going to use a nut driver on it, or a nut insert tool, sorry. I keep calling it nut driver. And then in my last video I mentioned I was getting something from Princess Auto. I ended up ordering it off of Amazon because it ended up being one more piece and it was a little bit cheaper after the shipping and stuff. So this is a 8 Mile Lake or Nico, one of the two. I've got tools from both of them before, so for me they're fine. Just a puller kit, bearing puller kit. So it's got the Hubbard grappler thing there, forcing screw. You can actually attach with this black thing here. You can put a screw in it and actually use it to pull dents like the old school way. Those bolt to that and it becomes like a 3-draw puller. There's another hub assembly adapter with the forcing screw goes into. So yeah, for as much as I'm going to use it, that'll be enough. I might need that to pull the bearings off my Jeep. It can be a real bitch sometimes if they rust on. I usually put anti-seize on them, but even then sometimes. So we'll see. Crappy thing is it doesn't fit in the toolbox. So I might rejig some stuff and then take that out of the case. We'll see. But yeah, it doesn't quite fit in the toolbox. It's just too wide. What else is new? The biggest thing, I guess, is I got my other toolbox I'd mentioned in my last video. Paid a whopping $40 for that. I think it's a pretty good deal. It's got a little rust on it and stuff, but my snap-on top fits on it good. The bottom I had to put up on some blocks of wood because it's just a tad too wide to fit on the top of that snap-on one. So it's just like I basically made this my auto box. So what I did was I ordered one of the other new things that's new is this Nico. Like these drawers actually slide pretty good. That's a Nico damaged bolt remover kit. I got that. It's been on my wish list for a while. These are all my bolt extractors. I know I've got lots, but it's for a reason because these ones, sometimes they're too shallow to fit on, like if you have something where it's like on a stud or something like that and it's damaged. Those sometimes are too long because they're actually, they're 3/8 drive. So and then these are big ones for like on the Jeep and stuff. And then so these are actually from Great Britain. These are Bergen. And these are neat because they're not a drive. So you can slide these right over top. And then I've actually used these a couple times where I slid it over the stud, used another socket that was similar diameter to kind of like drive it home. And then I put a big wrench or another big socket over top of it and I was able to get it out because I could slide these all the way down like a deep one with a stud. So that worked good. So I actually have both. It's one of those things where you really don't want to ever have to use them, but when you do need them, you're glad you have them. So this one, helicoil kit. Unfortunately, the case was damaged when I got it, but I don't really care. So why do I have a helicoil kit? On the Jeep, one of the pan bolts, with people who have Jeep JKs know that the one pan bolt is right by the exhaust crossover pipe, and it's a real bitch to get to. And that's actually why I have the gear wrench 10mm swivel, for that, just for that one bolt. So years ago, I had a guy who claimed to know more about transmissions than it turned out he actually did. And he was helping me work on it. And when we were putting the bolt back on, he wasn't being careful and he cross-threaded that bolt. And so the next 2 times when I've had to take that pan off to drain the transmission fluid out, it's really dicey if it's going to go back in. And so someday I might have to helicoil that, which is going to suck. But I'd rather have the tool and not need it than be down for a couple of weeks because I don't have the tool. So those are the old extractors I had. Grabbed some extra ones from the farm. Those are the OEM ones I've had for a while. Damaged screw removers. And then this one's actually a 3-thread kit. I would like to get my tap and die kit to fit in this box too, but the case is just a little bit too big, so not a big deal. It still stays in the bottom. So why do I have a 3-thread kit and a tap and die kit? Well, tap and die is for cutting new threads, which again, I don't use it very often, but I've had to use it a few times and I was glad I had it. Rethread kits for fixing or kind of, sharpening up existing threads. So this one, it looks like it's missing a couple things. It's actually because they're there. There was a version of this kit that had a couple extra things and doubles of those sizes. This is the more basic kit. So I think they just use the same case. It just doesn't include all the pieces. So I actually counted and it's got the right amount of pieces for what I ordered. And then there's other sets of these underneath these covers. You just slide them side to side, whatever side you need to use. So next time I do that transmission, I will find the right thread chaser basically, and I will use it, and hopefully that'll kind of repair the threads a little bit and I won't have to helicoil it. But now I've got both. So, and then this one's empty. So we'll have to remedy that someday when I figure out what else I want to put in here. So it's kind of like the uh-oh box now. Down here, and that's new. I got a new grommet tool, and then this is another 3-drop puller that I had before I got the slide hammer kit. Basically, that's for some of the stuff, the scrap metal pieces I've been getting for doing my metal art, some shafts, and I have to pull some bearings and sprockets off, and I need pullers to do that. So that's just a cheap, $14 one from Princess Auto. If it breaks, it breaks. I don't care. I just basically wanted it for that. Brake tools. There's a couple new things. I got a flaring kit, another just cheap Princess Auto one, because as often as I'm going to do brake lines, that'll help. I also got some new, I threw my brake silicone in here the other day, and then I also got some new brake bleeder wrenches. So there's an angled box end wrench, but these are 6-point instead of 12-point, because even using a 12-point box, like a 12-point wrench or a line wrench, sometimes I've stripped them. So I got some 6-point ones so they hopefully will fully go around them. So they were cheap. I think that's it. I got a new pack of Dremel grinding things too. That was on Amazon, just cheap, because I've been using my Dremel a lot for my metal arts. So the next, I guess, the project we're working on, you might have been hearing me bang on it a little bit. I was just leaning on it. So this is Blanche. I name all my old vehicles. This is an old truck. It's Dodge. It's going to be temperamental, so I figured it needed a girl's name. So Blanche it is. So it's an 86 Dodge D150. I bought an old truck that I didn't mind putting some work into because it's old enough that in Canada, or in Saskatchewan here, I can plate it as an antique. So I'm not going to drive it very much. And I'm slowly going to work on it. So this thing cost me less than $13 a month to plate. And I'm going to slowly keep working on it and getting it going and fixing it. So it does actually run. I know it's up on jack stands right now. It does run. When I bought it, I paid $700 for it. I gave the guy some gas money with his truck and trailer to bring it from Regina, which is about 2 hours away because I didn't have a truck or trailer to go get it because it needed a starter. It didn't run. So I put a starter in it. I put a new battery in it, and I put some new battery cable ends on it. And after about 30 seconds of cranking, it fired up. I think this thing's been sitting in a field for a couple of years. So got the starter going, replaced this headlight because the other one was so dim you couldn't really use it. The reason it's up on jack stands right now is I noticed a big puddle of transmission fluid on the floor the other day. So this thing, when I bought it, the guide told me the transmission had been rebuilt just before they stopped driving it. So I was thinking great news. And then as he delivers it, he was like, oh yeah, by the way, because the guy I bought it from the other people. So he said, apparently the transmission's leaking. Well, I'd crawl underneath when I was, after I got the engine running, I knew it ran. I did an oil change on it, and I found that all the transmission bolts on the pan were loose. So I'm like, well, there's probably why it's leaking. So I tightened them all up, but I noticed a puddle again. So I'm suspecting that maybe the gasket was fouled because all the bolts were loose. So I've ordered a new gasket. I was going to just run a thing of RTV, but the gasket was cheap, so I ordered a new gasket for the transmission pan. Once I figured out what transmission this was, it's got the A999 in it. And I just did a transmission pan identification chart and figured that out. So the new gasket was like 16 with tax. So I was going to put a new gasket on and I'll put that back on. Tomorrow I managed to actually, because I just put transmission fluid in it, I was able to save most of the old transmission fluids. I'm just going to reuse it. I'm doing this on the cheap and it looks clean. So yeah, I've been driving it. I've driven around a little bit. The carb, I got a carb kit coming for it because I think it had half a tank of gas in it and it's got some old gas. I haven't been able to find a fuel filter on it yet. So I'm going to cut a fuel filter into the fuel line, and I'm going to get the carb rebuilt. So I have a friend who's offered to help me with the carburetor because I've only ever rebuilt a lawnmower one. That was a long time ago. So I found a video on YouTube too. So we're going to do it together. He's done quite a few. So, I just put a windshield in it. That one wiper, I got to try and get that wiper arm off again and clock my wiper a little bit better. But this one, I couldn't get the wiper arm off. I do need to get two new wiper blades too. But that windshield, because it's nice, it's an old truck, 156 with tax. So, and I installed it myself. This is one of those ones that just held in with that filler strip. So it doesn't require the urethane or the whatever glue they use nowadays. Back in the day, it used to be urethane. I used to help my dad put windshields in all the time. So I was quite confident I could do this one. There's a special tool to reinstall that filler strip. My dad had one, but of course, when we divvied up his tools, my brother ended up with it. So I borrowed one from a friend, ended up being the wrong one, but I managed to get it in with some picks and lots of spray silicone and stuff and got it in. As the old windshield actually it was hit so hard in the driver's side there that there was glass on the inside and the outside were shattered out. So it needed a new one. I'm trying not to make it so the cops don't want to pull me over. So now I have a driver's side mirror. I've got my rear view mirror, so I'm legal to drive. I'm still looking. It's missing the passenger side mirror, so I'm trying to find one at a wrecker. I don't want to buy a brand new one because they're trying to do this as cheaply as I can. So my goal with this truck is to be into it and have it running and driving regularly for right around $1,500. I'm still under budget, but I might, with the carb rebuild and cut, I might just be a touch over, which isn't a big deal. It's actually solid. Like, it's dented, but it's solid. There's only like 3 little dime-sized holes in the driver's side rocker, and that's the only rust I found on the whole thing. The frame is still black. And the odometer on this thing reads about 85,000 and change, but it's only a 5-digit odometer, so it probably rolled over a couple times, but I don't know by how many times it would have rolled over because I'm suspecting this is an old farmer's truck and it basically back and forth through the field. So crappy things though, the farmer fixed a few things. They hit a dent. And instead of just retaping the molding, they put a nice screw through it, and that was mint letters. So maybe if I ever decide to fix this thing up, I'll have to find a replacement. I need to adjust the doors. I think they need new bushings. That mirror's cracked, but I don't care. It's your basic truck. I think this thing was actually ordered radio delete. Because on the other fender where the antenna would go, it doesn't look like there's ever even been an antenna installed. I can't find any antenna cable. And where the radio would be, I think they had a radio delete plate, and they actually had mounted a CB radio on it because there's a clip. That's like the only blemish in the whole dash is that clip. It doesn't have tilt, but it does have, or cruise, but it's got the wipers work, the heater works, the lights work. Well, all the lights but one, but I know the problem. So I want to get some different window cranks, and I might have to replace this window regulator because the teeth where the window regulator, window crank bolts to the regulator, the teeth are kind of ground off. So I want to get some different window cranks too. Those are just kind of homemade ones, but the box had a slip tank in it. Like, they've got some holes here that I have to cut up, weld up or whatever, but not a big deal. But they had slip tank in it, so that's why it's all greasy and oil. I've got most of it out, but not a big deal. Even the cargo light works. Doesn't need a tail light. It's on its way from Rock Auto, tail light and housing. That's why I don't have a tail light right now, because the bulb won't stay in. So I got that coming. The signal light does not work in the back now because one of the bulbs is broken, so it just stays on. It doesn't blink, but it just needs a new bulb. The tailgate's kind of hooped. Looks like they jammed it at one point, and they actually cut the latch out of this side to get it open. I don't know why. It's only latches on one side, so that's one panel on the truck I might replace someday. I don't care what color the other one is. I got the old Grandpa mount spare. This tire's pretty shot, but for a spare, it still holds air. I don't care. I have 3 of the dog dish hubcaps. Maybe someday I'll find a 4th one. It's not a big priority. That rim on the front's actually a Ford rim, not a Dodge rim. And they are the same bolt pattern. So it works, but I'm trying to find a couple tires for this thing because these tires in the front are smaller than the ones in the back, and I want to run the same size all the way around, so I only have to carry the one spare. So I'm trying to find some, excuse me, some used tires for this thing. I don't want to spend a ton of more money on this truck, so I got to reclock that. And once that, like the brakes, I've checked the brake pads on the front. They still have lots of pad left. The brakes work good. The other thing that this thing is up in the air for is I put a new muffler on it, just to clamp on one. Excuse me, I had to modify the tailpipe because it was just a tad too long. So it just basically dumps underneath there. You can see the new muffler, and I just cut the tailpipe off and shortened it. Nothing fancy. So be a little quieter. It's pretty loud. So yeah, there's another hole they drilled for when they had their slip tank in. But like I could weld that up and fix it if I wanted to, but I really don't care. This is basically going to be my run back and forth to the dump, run to go to the lumber yard, run and hauling trees, or going to rock piles and or in people's farms or whatever, and getting scrap metal for my metalworking projects or garage sales or whatever. Like I'm not planning on driving this to the city or anything like that. It's my just beat around town truck because I don't have a truck anymore. I sold my truck because my ex-girlfriend lived with me because she had a truck, and then she decided to leave, and so I didn't have a truck anymore. And I kind of made do with a trailer last fall, towing behind my Jeep, but it's hard on the Jeep for fuel, and it's hard to see the trailer out the back of the Jeep because of the spare tire and the fuel cans and stuff. And it just wasn't very convenient. And it also doesn't have a very big box on it. So for like hauling trees, I really wasn't able to haul that much. And I ended up ripping one of the seat covers because I had to put tools in the back of it. So this is, basic truck. I can throw stuff in the back of this. I don't care if I dent it. I don't care if I scratch it. It's just an honest, plain old truck. And that's all I wanted it for. So taillight should be here this week. Get that switched out. Hopefully the gas gets in tomorrow or the day after. I can put that back on, fill it back up. Carb kit should be here in about a week or so. And get that kind of buttoned up so I don't have to keep running seafoam every time I want to drive this thing. And then we're just going to drive it. Sorry, I don't have the COVID or anything like that. It's just dry in here. So just from talking, like I said, this is the third time I've tried making this video. So, and it's 318 automatic. So power disc brakes up front, drums in the back, but those 318s will go forever. And I like that it's an automatic, not a stick, just because I have long legs and sometimes in certain trucks, it's hard for me to clutch. So it's not the easiest thing for me to get into because it doesn't have tilt either. If I have this truck for a long time, that might be something I might change down the road, as I'll just get a steering column from a wrecker, put a tilt column in it, but I might just leave it too. For as much as I'm going to drive this thing. And like it's got character. It's got, the grill's they farmer fixed the grill. I don't care. The lenses are good enough there. And this is the good side. Like I said, a lot of these trucks, when I've seen, the rear wheels are rusted out. This truck is solid. Like I said, I've only found those 3 spots of rust, and I could easily, like in an hour, cut that out and weld it in and fix it if I wanted to. So, if I did decide down the road I wanted to restore this truck, it's actually a good one to start with. And a lot of these dents I could pull out. I wouldn't even have to replace panels. So I was talking about that antenna too. I don't think there's even ever been an antenna there. So I think this is a radio delete truck. So could I put a radio in it? Yep. But do I need to? No. I already got some treasures. I went and cleaned out the last bit of the farm. So this thing's already hauled its first truck full of stuff. So I was glad to have it. I want to get some engine degreaser, and I want to try and clean the rest of this bed out, just so that if I ever carry any things in here, I'm not worried about getting oil on them. So that's going to be one of my next projects too. Once I get this thing running and driving, I'm going to degrease it again, like spray it all down with engine degreaser, and then I'll take it to the car wash again because I don't want to do it in my driveway. But like you can see, it sat for a while. It's even got like moss or whatever on the rear window. But yeah. Anyway, I didn't have any mice in it, so that was a bonus. So anyway, that's it for the day. My garage is kind of a mess right now because I've been working on this thing. So basically just waiting on parts and we'll finish her up. So I appreciate everybody watching. Any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, advice, whatever, let me know. And thanks for watching. I'll see you again.